So the customer said that this alternator is always squeaking during its cold start. So let's try it. This is the first start for the day. Wala. Hindi naman. Okay, okay. So I'll teach you here how to adjust your belt for your alternator or your compressor. First thing is, it is important that you don't over adjust, you don't over tighten your alternator belt, or else your engine bearings will suffer from the over tightened belt. Always remember that the main bearings for the engine crankshaft is just a full float bearing. What I mean is that it makes its clearance from metal to metal contact between the bearings and the journal of the crankshaft by the oil pressure alone. Remember, it's just the oil pressure. So if you over tighten your belt, what will happen is that you are defeating the oil pressure, the space the oil pressure is creating between the bearings and the journal. So if you hear that belt squeak, just like what you heard a while ago, all you have to do is turn your adjuster by one half turn or one full turn of the adjusting bolt. By that procedure, you will prevent engine damage or premature engine failure of the bearings by preventing too much grasp in between the pulley of the alternator and the pulley of the crankshaft. Because if you over tighten it, the pulley of the alternator and the pulley of the crankshaft, it's like they're embracing too much. They're embracing with too much pressure. You are defeating the oil pressure that is creating the gap, the needed gap to prevent metal to metal contact. So whenever I adjust my belts in my engine or to my customer's engine, it's always my rule of thumb to always adjust gradually, only up to the point as to what is only needed, up to the point where the belt stops squeaking, because too much adjustment, too much tension with the belts will stress your bearings inside your engine. The first thing to do always is to clean your belts and your pulley. Clean the grooves of the belt, clean the grooves of the pulley. You always make sure that there are no dirt, no oil, in order to give an accurate analysis that your belt is giving the proper tension. Because the dirt and the oil may be the reason why the belt is squeaking. Because a dirty pulley and a dirty belt, even though with the proper belt tension, will squeak. Also, an important thing is always make sure that any mechanical accessory in your car, in your engine, is a proper operation. Because I have previously experienced in my Mazda RX-7 FD an aircon compressor failure, an internal failure, where there's already a mechanical stress inside the compressor. And when I was not aware that there's already an internal failure with the compressor, I keep on adjusting the belt up to the point it stopped squeaking. So what happened is that the bearings of the engine got stressed by too much tension of the belt. So when I opened up my rotary engine, I noticed that my bearings has a premature wear. A big part of it as its copper is already exposed. So that's the effect of too much tension to the belt. The belt tension is defeating the oil pressure that is giving the protection and lubrication needed by the bearings. It's always the bearings of the engine that will suffer. I will show you in a separate video how too much belt tension can affect the condition of your engine bearings. I will demonstrate it to you by an actual engine with its crank fully installed and the alternator also installed together with the belt. So for my customers, also to my cars, of course, just what I said a while ago, I adjust my belt gradually to the point only where the belt will stop squeaking. So after you ensure that the grooves of your belt and the grooves of your pulley are very clean, but still your belt squeaks, it is the time you adjust your belt tension. And also always remember that new belts when installed, they have a break-in period where our procedure is that if we install new belts, we still give the proper tension, and after some time the belt will squeak again. What you have to do is you just have to readjust your belt tension. It's never our shop procedure to over tension your belt just to make sure that the belt will not squeak again. That will damage your bearings. So it's always our first step to just tighten of the right amount, of the right tension. If it happened that the belt squeaked again, you just have to retighten it. So for my customers, don't get mad at us. It's just that we're loving your engine as to how I love my engines. I don't want to give the bearings too much stress. So we always adjust your belt tension only up to the point as to what is needed. Only up to the point the belt stops squeaking. For modern engines, I noticed the newer ones, like the engines from the Mazda 2, Mazda 3, the tensioner of the engine is self-adjusting. Means it's spring-loaded. After you install the drive belt, the tensioner already provides the proper tension. So you don't need to worry about any readjustment for the newer engines. Actually, the proper way to adjust belt tension is to use a tension gauge. But of course, the tension gauge is not always readily available. I'm just teaching you the proper way to tension your belt that will not damage your engine, that will ensure the proper performance of your engine bearings. So here's your alternator, and this is the adjusting mechanism. So this is the locking bolt, and this is the adjusting bolt. Whenever you adjust your belt, you always loosen your locking bolt before you adjust this adjusting bolt. So the first step is to loosen this locking bolt. So we've already loosened this locking bolt. The reason why you have to loosen this bolt is for the alternator to be able to move while you adjust this tension bolt. Now is to adjust the tension bolt by 1/2 only, like what I said a while ago, gradual adjustment only, and not the attitude of hey, I want to adjust this 2 turns or 3 turns just to make sure that the belt will not squeak again. But there's a bad side effect affecting your engine bearings because of the too much tension. So we'll have to adjust it by 1/2 turn only. Half turn only of the bolt. Half turn na. And then you will test it even though the locking bolt is not yet tightened. It's okay. Nothing will happen bad. So you will test it by starting the engine again and check if you still hear the belt squeak. I still hear the small. If there's still a belt squeak, retighten the adjusting bolt 1/2 turn again. And then retest again by starting the engine. The problem here is that the belt is too stretched already. The adjusting range is almost full. Wala na? Ha? Sige, try mo na lang. The range of adjustment for the belt is already maxed out. So we have to change the alternator belt already. How to determine if your belt is maxed out is that this block, this adjusting block, is already very near this adjusting bracket. So you can see here, after changing the belt with the new one, you can see here that the adjustment block has made more clearance from the bracket. We have more space now for readjustment. Here, start. Okay. So after adjusting the proper tension and the belt is not squeaking anymore, you can now retighten the lock bolt of the alternator. If your car doesn't have this adjusting bolt, not all cars not all engines have this adjusting bolt. Some engines only have the lock bolt but no adjusting bolt. But you can customize an adjusting bolt bracket in order to make finer adjustments. Just like in this Kia Sportage, we fabricated a adjustment bolt so that we can gradually adjust the tension of the belt of the alternator. We welded a steel plate to the original bracket, and we drilled a hole for the bolt to pass through and the adjustment block